Shalom, miserable humans. Yep, I'm back to recasting the voices of Winx Club. This smaller video will be a relief after my Like Your video where my laptop kept crashing on me. A few times it didn't crash while uploading, was blocked 3 times before I managed to finally get it uploaded. That video was cursed. Much like this season, the absolute worst season of Winx Club. I won't go over why it sucks, just go watch Unicorn Wars video explaining why Season 7 is the worst. Link in the cards. Not to mention, you should also check out his amazing book, DeviantArt from the Ashes, which I've been reading and so far it's really great. And I might do a video where I review the book when I eventually finish it. Yeah, I know I'm digressing in this video, but if you've seen this season, you'd know that that goes very well with what a mess this season is, due to the fact that it has no plot and the lamest villains of the show. Speaking of which, let's begin with them. Starting off with the less annoying villain and a waste of a perfectly amazing design, Kalshara. First of all, no actor is going to make her come off as a good villain. However, the voice I've chosen for her is one that I'm very proud of, and that is Marina Sirtis. Animation fans will recognize her for her performance as one of the most popular, if not the most popular, characters from Gargoyles, Demona. Her voice is just perfect for the character. She's cold and cruel, but can also fly off the handle into a murderous rage. While she wouldn't be able to save this pathetic excuse for a villain, she would still manage to give her some level of dignity and class, which would just show how amazing an actress she is, because Kalshara is an absolute joke.
Before I destroy Goliath, I want to prove to him once and for all what you humans are really like. I'll bring Goliath and the others to Belvedere Castle in Central Park at high noon. If you show up, you still won't save them, and it will certainly cost you your life. But if you don't show, Goliath will see what human loyalty is really worth. Either way, I win.
Also, Demona is right. You humans are the absolute worst. Anyway, now we move on to the absolute worst villain to ever come out of this franchise, Raphaelius. He makes LeFou from the animated Beauty and the Beast look like Shigo from Kim Possible by comparison. One of the minor annoying things about him is his English voice, where he's voiced by Mark Thompson, who also is the voice of Nut in both the 4Kids and DeviantArt dub. Great actor, but the performance he gave as Raphaelius was just absolutely grating.
What I want for the first time, I really liked it. I don't think so. I'm sick and tired of being your lapdog.
So instead, I chose an actor that is known for playing comedic anime characters, Bill Fegerbaki. You will definitely recognize him for his most well-known role as Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants, a show that has outstayed its welcome and refused to die, much like the newer seasons of Winx Club. However, the performance I'd have him give would be one that isn't so loud. I'd personally have him give a performance more similar to the one he gave as Broadway from Gargoyles. Yeah, I'm clearly using a lot of Gargoyles voice actors in these videos, but can you blame me? They're all just such great actors. I mean, Raphaelius would still be an absolute horrible abomination of a character, but Bill would manage to make the character at least more tolerable with his performance. It at least wouldn't sound like nails on a chalkboard.
Well, I can't read, and I don't think I'm missing anything. What's this big deal about these scrolls? Who was this Merlin? Just another stupid magician.
Now we move on to one of the few highlights of this season, the fairy animals. Starting off with Bloom's bonded fairy animal, Elos. This is hard because I wanted to give him a voice that could be bratty but not annoying and could still show his sweeter moments. Ultimately, I decided to go with Bryce Papenbrook, who is well known for being the voice of Adrian from Miraculous Ladybug and his cousin Felix. I feel like a combination of his performances as those characters would be perfect for Elos. He'd have Adrian's sweet side without being too nice, but also be a brat like Felix without being too sinister. Basically the best of both worlds.
You get the best of both worlds.
Haha, very funny. Just listen to this.
I've had enough of being shut up at home by my dad. I want to meet people and make friends. Go to a normal school like everyone else.
For Stella's bonded fairy animal, Shiny, I decided to go with Rebecca Solar, who was Techna's Season 3 voice from the 4Kids dub and Stella's voice in the DeviantArt dub. I feel like the performance she gave as Stella would suit Shiny perfectly. She's hyper and quirky without being annoying, plus it would be really cool having Stella's bonded fairy animal being voiced by one of her other voice actresses. Not to mention, it just really suits the design of this crazy jewelry-eating bird.
Do you think we're gonna have a dressing room, a makeup artist,
Now we move on to Flora's bonded fairy animal, also known as the best of the main fairy animals, Amarok. For him, I went with David Faustino, who you will most likely recognize for his performance as Mako from Legend of Korra, but he was also the voice of Helia in the Nick dub of Winx Club. I feel like a deeper voice like David's really would suit Amarok because it really does go well with his design. Plus, it would be a fun contrast with how hyperactive this pup is. And let's face it, we would all love to see Mako acting like a hyperactive Bolin on decaf cactus juice. But on top of that, he would still be able to pull up Amarok's more serious moments.
I may not be able to water plants, but I know a thing or two about wrangling wild beasts. You never gave up on me, Flora. You never lost hope.
For Muse's bonded fairy animal Pretty, this will be quick because she will be keeping Erica Schroeder as her voice. She just really captures what a prissy and hothead but sweet little cinnamon roll of a kitty cat she is.
I usually sharpen my claws on a sofa, but you'll do just fine.
For Tekna's bonded fairy animal Flitter, I went with Jack DeSena, who you will most likely recognize for his performance as Sokka from Avatar The Last Airbender. He also voices the main character from the Netflix series The Dragon Prince, which I haven't seen but I've heard great things about. Anyway, I feel like Jack's performance as Sokka shows how perfect he would be for Flitter. Both characters are really smart, are pranksters, and are creative inventors. I mean, how perfect is this?
Speaking of that third-eyed freak, I think I've come up with a name for him. What do you think of Sparky Boom Man?
For Layla/Aisha's bonded fairy animal Squonk, I actually have two different voices for him because of how he sounds really different in his mini-world form. For his regular form, I have Capsusi using her Phil DeVille performance from Rugrats because it really just suits the design so well.
Playing cats for 100 billions of times just ain't that much fun no more.
And as for his mini-world form, I have Jim Cummings. Yeah, Squonk gets two voice acting legends. I feel like Jim Cummings' voice would really show a massive difference between regular Squonk and when Squonk is in his massive form, especially with one of Jim's deeper voices.
You and the living doll cover us from the air. We're going in.
The last fairy animal that actually speaks is the Infinity Swan, or as I prefer to call him, the Duex Swanina, because that's exactly what he is, just a swan that comes out of nowhere and pulls off a Duex Machina. Now, y'all know I love swans. I'm a massive Swan Princess fan, and just look at my necklace. But this thing, it's universally hated for a reason. Odette he ain't, though the design is great. Anyway, for him, I picked Kevin Michael Richardson, who was absolutely a huge part of her childhood in some way because he's done a lot of voice acting work. I feel like the performance he gave as the lion turtle from Avatar The Last Airbender that Aang meets in the finale Sozin's Comet would be perfect for the character. That performance had a sound that was ethereal, all-knowing, and otherworldly. If we're gonna have to deal with this ridiculous Duex Swanina, can we at the very least get an amazing performance that gives us chills?
The true mind can weather all the lies and illusions without being lost. The true heart can tough the poison of hatred without being harmed. Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light.
Now we move on to the uncategorized characters, starting with the former headmistress of Althea, Mavilla. For her, I decided to give her an Easter egg voice actor by having her being voiced by Carrie Walgreen, who was the voice of Farragonda in the Nick dub. I just think it's a really clever idea having Farragonda's old headmistress with the voice of one of Farragonda's past voices.
Dear students and professors, I am pleased to inaugurate a new school year here at Althea. This year, a very special history of magic teacher joins us.
Next, we have Muse's brief love interest from time traveling, Orlando. And yeah, even this brief fling was a million times better than her toxic relationship with Riven. Anyway, this will be quick because he will be keeping Abe Goldfarb from the DeviantArt dub. I don't have any issues with his performance. He sounds charming and charismatic.
The quill cat is friendly. I know him. When I was young, it used to come and visit me every time I sang my song.
And he also has a great singing voice.
I am a prince, so never you fear. Listen, dear fairy, and fly over here.
Now for Flora's parents, starting with her father, Rhodos. As I've mentioned, representation in voice acting is important, so I wanted to make sure that for both of Flora's parents, I cast people who were Hispanic or Latino/Latina. For Rhodos, I went with John Leguizamo, who in the animation world is known for being the voice of Sid the Sloth from the Ice Age movies and Bruno from Encanto. And no, I will not make a "we don't talk about Bruno" joke. I feel like the performance he gave name as Bruno would really suit the character. He's loving and definitely very quirky.
So what do you like? What do you like? You like sports? Game show? Telenovelas? Hey, after you save the miracle, come visit.
As for Flora's mother, Alyssa, I went with Elizabeth Brouillon, who you might recognize as the voice of Camila Noceda from The Owl House. She proved there that she definitely pulls off loving motherly characters, and there are traces of her being quirky despite Camila claiming to not have much imagination. Plus, considering I cast Sarah Nicole Robles as the voice of Flora's sister Mile, who is the voice of Luz Noceda in The Owl House, it would just be really awesome to have these two actors play mother and daughter again.
You have a place here for as long as you need. And take these. Lou said they might be helpful for you.
Now we move on to the section of younger versions of characters. Since we do time travel, we do see younger versions of characters, and there's that episode of the Winx being turned into kids again. None of that is nearly as interesting as it may sound. Starting with young Faragonda, I knew that I needed to figure out a voice that sounded similar to the voice I cast for Faragonda Toso Nongoye, while also being convincing as a teenager that is very unsure of herself. I ultimately went with Mimi Davila, who animation fans will recognize as the voice of Romel from Voltron Legendary Defender. Her performance as that character definitely sounds like a young version of Toads, so she's perfect.
But why can't we talk to them now? Lotor must have a way of communicating with them. He travels there all the time. So why does he keep us in the dark?
As for young Kalshara, also known as human or fairy Kalshara, whatever the Tartarus kind of Kalshara she was, I went with Grey Delisle with her Azula voice. I feel like her performance as Azula has a very similar cadence and speech pattern to Marina, not to mention that it makes her feel like someone who is out for power and is great at manipulation rather than just some student from Althea that went bad.
If I want to catch my prey, I must be agile, nimble. I need a small, elite team. It's time to visit some old friends.
I'm gonna be quick with young Griselda because she will be keeping her duar voice, Lisa Ortiz. Although I'm still bitter that this dub has Lisa Ortiz in its cast, and they don't have her rephrase her role as Musa and especially Icy. Unforgivable sin. Anyway, I feel like the voice she uses for Griselda sounds like a younger version of Mindy Sterling, who I cast to be the voice of regular Griselda.
Sorry, but the headmistress asked me to monitor the entrance. I cannot leave my post.
Now we have the Winx Club themselves as children. For Bloom, this will be quick because I'm just gonna have her be voiced by Mae Whitman, who I also cast as regular Bloom. It turns out that in the Owl House, she didn't just voice Amity, but also little Amity in those flashbacks from her and Willow's friendship. She was very convincing as a younger version of herself, so yeah.
But they're mean. Just because you work with their parents doesn't mean I have to like them.
As for Stella, I went with Cheryl Chase, who you will probably recognize for her performance as Angelica Pickles in the Rugrats franchise. I feel like she does sound like a younger version of Caitlin Glass, who I cast as regular Stella. She'd definitely be able to pull off Stella's loud diva personality.
So don't let them tell you can't get sucked down the drain. 'Cause you can. Big time.
As for Flora, as I said earlier, representation matters, so I wanted to make sure I cast someone who was Hispanic or Latina. I went with Erica Mendez, who has voiced a lot of characters in anime, including child characters. I feel like she'd pull off Flora's sweet side, but also the side of her that will attack you if you hurt someone she cares about.
I can see that you're getting worked up, but don't get any closer to my lady. I'm super duper strong, you know.
For Musa, this will be quick because just like with Bloom, I'm having her child self be voiced by the same actress I picked to voice her regular self, Kimiko Glenn. I discovered that Kimiko can actually voice child characters from her performance from some kiddie show called Baby Shark.
Power of music! That's the sweet taste of justice.
Techno will also be having the same actress that I picked to voice her regular self to be the voice of her child self as well, Kimberly Brooks. Sadly, I couldn't find Kimberly voicing a child with a British accent for reference, because British Techna is best Techna. However, she's proven with her performance as Allura from Voltron Legendary Defender that she can do British accents, and she can definitely voice children, so I see no reason why she wouldn't be able to do a British child. So just imagine she's speaking with a British accent in this edited clip.
Reports of tummy aches, owies, and constipation have reached epidemic numbers over the past few hours.
And finally, for the child version of Layla/Aisha, I'm just gonna have her be voiced by Kimberly Brooks, and she can just do the child voice she normally does for kid characters. I think it sounds convincing as a young Vashti Mompoint, who I cast to be her voice.
No way, Jose. I don't eat broccoli.
And there you have it. Those are my casting choices for the voices of Season 7. If there are any characters that made their debut in Season 7 that I don't mention, they will be keeping their DeviantArt voices because DeviantArt does have great voice actors. It's just that some of them were given the wrong voices, like the missed opportunity of having Lisa Ortiz reprise her roles as Musa and Icy, Susie Myers reprise her role as Stormy, and Erica Schroeder reprise her role as Daphne. And don't even get me started on the specialist and Melee's voices, but I guess that's a subject for a different video. Next time I will be concluding the Winx Club recast series with my recasting of the infamous Season 8. Until then, what did you guys think of this video? Do you agree with any of my choices, or your casting choices? Let me know in the comment section. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also follow me on my other social media accounts in the links in the description box below. I'm the Wicked Merman from Under the Sea.